Hello there, folks, and welcome to the stream. My name is Mike D'Angelo, aka That Tellest Guy. We are back in the Mountain Zone today. It's been a long time since we've been here, and we are going to try and work on our sixth map in this zone. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge because back when we started doing this kind of motif, we didn't do we didn't keep the maps that we were resizing from. I was not smart enough to know at that time that that's what I should be doing. So we lost a little bit of what we should have been doing there. And what we need to do is figure out like what the shape was, the texture was of that material. So what we're actually going to do is take a step out of the basic shape that we have now, and we're going to throw our map into that space. So I don't think that we already have it. We'll go to the art manager and we'll check that out. So we've got, yes, actually we do have it. So we have the mountain waterfall in low res. So I actually didn't even need to step out of there. Let's go back to our scenes. We're going to go into the Southwest map one more time. And now the next step is going to be fitting it to size with everything. So we'll have to see what we need to do there. Right now I have it set up so that the map just comes up 4 over where it needs to be. But let's see if we can make that work with what we're trying to do here. So if we go into our catalog, we should be able to find the mountain waterfall. So let's try 200 and see. That's not going to be enough by any means. Let's snap it to the grid and let's throw it down into, oh, you know what? That might be the only problem. It's not terrible. That fits. So you'll see this is going to be our 40 across. We'll count it just to be sure. So if I came into the shape tool and we did preview, and we came across right there, you can see we're at 40 and 1, right? So that's exactly how far we actually wanted to go with it. The only problem is we need to actually move this up to here. So 400 was the magic number that we needed to play with. So as far as everything else goes here, we should be able to kind of move this over. The one big thing that we're missing here is down here, we've got the mountain bridge map, and we're not getting a 1-to-1 here because originally we decided to add a little bit of space down there. So we have to kind of figure that bit out a little bit. So that is going to be a fun one. Let's try and see if we can figure it out. So we're going to go into the mask tool first, and let's do something like, oh, is that already? Okay. So we have to actually add the mask to take it away. We're doing it kind of backwards on this map. So let's do something like that. Let's do a smooth brush instead. We'll take some of that away. Oop, I have to put that back. And we're definitely going to have to figure out, well, actually everything looks okay there as far as the shape goes. The problem is it doesn't match with over here. So we'll have to figure that out a little bit. It's not 1-to-1 by any means. Maybe what we can do is over here, we'll shrink the size a little bit. And let's go back to the add and let's try and do some more over here. Now down here, you really shouldn't be getting that, right? We're just going to do like a pit. You know, it's going to be a little bit of a pit that you see there. And let's, I guess, keep on. Well, that's fine. We don't need to do anything there. Let's do another test real quick, because one of the things that we're going to need to do is use our distance map. So you can see we've kind of already done these small forests for distance. And it's huge. Let's see what we can do if we throw that in here and flatten that to the background. So, I don't know if that's doing what I want it to. I think part of the problem is when we worked on this map, it did get kind of weird. Let's see, we don't have anything there. That's nothing that we can grab. Tell you what, let's try and just recreate what we have over here, because you can actually see the rock is the same here and here. See if we can't find that rock. Oh, well, that is one of the problems. It's gigantic and it doesn't need to be. All right, so we've got that there. What we're going to do is, let's blur this a bit. One more time, let's try and flatten it and see what it does. That's good, that's what we want. And then what we're gonna actually end up doing is we're gonna keep on adding, right? Yep. We should continue getting this to kind of cover the area. We're only seeing a little bit down there. I'll tell you what, we can clean that up right away by doing this. All right, so we got the basic shape that we need. We've got that little gap that we needed to make this make sense. Now we are also going to have to do, cliffs down here. We'll have to do some water, and crucially, what we're going to need to do is figure out the size difference that we have between these two maps. So let's do, we're going to go to the foreground layer and I don't have anything anymore. Let's do a save real quick. And what we're going to do is go back to the waterfall map, and we should, in theory, have the most recent size that we have for the grass there. And we'll probably have to adjust it a little bit because we are out a little bit. So let's do waterfall. Let's go into the edit real quick. I feel like I've said it before. The one thing that I really think that Incarnate is crucially missing is a way to grab a texture, and I think it's practically impossible because we do have blends of these things. I have a little bit of grass and a little bit of dirt here. Up here I have a little bit of grass, dirt, and the gray ground. It's hard to figure out a way that you'd be able to kind of pull that together, but. So if we're here, we go to the advanced settings, the texture scale here says that it's at 100. doesn't feel right to me. Let's go back, and we're going to go to the bridge. And we'll see if this one is set at 100. And it might be that once we're on the map itself, kind of zoomed in, it'll feel a little bit less gihugic. Okay, so here, and this grass feels like it's smaller, and of course here I don't have the means to do it. But let's check out the. We'll do it ourselves. We'll go to the core, and if it was 100, it's on the background. I mean, everything is. It is 100 as far as this is concerned. So let's go back to our main map. Again, at this point, maybe the problem is that it was at 100. Well, no, it doesn't make any sense. We'll head back to it, though. We'll see if we can figure it out. It will take a few seconds longer to load, but we'll give it a second. You'll get there. I believe in you. All right. So, again, these didn't really load the right way. That shouldn't be that big. I'm not quite sure why it loaded that big when it resized, but it's okay. We'll be able to, in theory, fix this. So up here is the way that it should look. So if we go into our foreground layer, we go to texture, we'll go back to the grass, and we'll set it to the half size, which should be 50. It should. Yeah, so it blends in better with up there. That's pretty darn good, to be perfectly honest. So let's do this. We're just going to fill everything that we have here for now. Well, it's the foreground, so I can do whatever I want. Let's snap it to the grid. So I'm trying not to interfere too much with the gray ground because we are going to have to blend that in anyway. But you can see it connects pretty well to what we have already. So there's not too much that I have to do there, but let's, that's pretty good. And then what we're going to have to do is kind of take what we have here and build it out. So, excuse me. Let's keep on going with these cliffs. I do, in this case, want to continue using the old style cliffs. It helps things to feel a little bit more cohesive. A lot of times what I would probably do these days is use the line tool because it would be a little bit quicker. Sometimes I feel like they're a little bit wonky, but for the sake of quickness and just getting familiar with the tool, I feel like it's not necessarily a bad thing to have that kind of stuff available. So we're currently doing random stamps. I'm trying to kind of build it out so that, the mountain kind of does the same thing that it's doing over here. It kind of builds up, and what we'll do is we'll have this area over here is going to be level with the waterfall. We might have some cliffs that go down, but we'll figure that out as we go. And as I mentioned earlier, we do not do a brand new map. What we end up doing these days is a full resize without removing the other stamps. So when it does come time to do the to flesh out the zone, so to speak, we are going to end up with another 5 rows down here and another 6 over here, give or take. Really, in the mountain zone, the only thing that this is going to do is show the just going to show down here. We might alternate, and instead of doing it that way, we may do an expansion over here instead, so that it gives us a little bit more to work with instead of having open air over here that players wouldn't be able to play with. But I digress. Let's see. We can still grab these cliffs over here, which is good. So these should be about the same height that we need. The one thing that we're going to have to do is layer this down, because if I put this here now, oh, actually it is all right. That is layered properly. Now the only problem is here things aren't really layered the right way. Let's see if I do this. Is that the right? Here, let's move it up. Keep it going. Let's shrink that dude down and see if that is the right one. I feel like it might not be. So let's keep on looking. Yeah, I feel like that was the right one. So let's do that. We're going to do that one there. And I think, oh, you know what we need to do? Let's size that one down one more. And while we're here, let's move this down to layer negative whatever. We need to make sure that it goes lower than that. -3 is good. That one there is a 2. We'll put this one above that one so we have a little bit more room to play with. And let's get another small one so that we can just close this off. I actually kind of like that, because if we come back down here to the mask tool, we should be able to subtract from that. We'll have a little gap there, so you can see a little bit more of what's going on down there. Oh, I was doing the wrong side, or the wrong tool. We gotta add a little bit of that back. So we have already done the forest zone in this style, but one of the things that we did not do was the same thing that we did here. We failed to do a kind of fully intact version of this zone, and what that ends up causing for us is we have to kind of like piecemeal put these things together later. In theory, life is made a lot easier if you don't have to do that, because you can go in and just expand to the entire zone and then just take out the pieces that you need. So like if I was going to start a new zone today, and I was going to build off of what we already have, I would resize. I would use the resize tool and then just move things slightly off to the side. And instead of checking the box that says remove all the stamps that are not in here, I would leave everything there. It would leave the stamps there. It would leave the terrain there. It would really end up making life a lot easier. In this case, you can see this map is here, but I can't, crucially, I can't get into anything in here. So like, I don't know which stamp was used here. So what we're going to do real quick, we're going to hit save. This is probably going to take a little while because it's twice the size plus some of the regular map. And what we'll end up doing, we're going to take like a 42-second break. We're going to go over to our sponsor. It's just a cool book that's coming out. Just check it out. And well, we're going to be zooming into another map anyway. So we're going to do that. And then when we come back, we'll have the stamp that we need. We'll identify that on the other map. So we'll be right back. And now, a word from our sponsors. If you could walk into dreams and explore them like they were another world, what would you do? It's a premise that author Tom Crowan tackles in his wonderful debut, The Rift Beyond Dreams, the first book in his Dreams of Draenei series. Whether it's long-established lore of the world, or the magic and majesty of the way Reverie works in the series, everything feels so rich and immersive. And though this story dives into deep notions and explores a lot of questions of the psyche, it's interspersed with interesting revelations, breezy action, and fun character moments that keep it moving along at a very nice pace. The best part is that this is just the start of this spectacular journey, with more from Crowan's wonderful world on the way. Check out our promo for The Rift Beyond Dreams, Dreams of Drenah Book 1, on the Tellest website. Alrighty, so we are back. You can see here, we've actually got like a little bit of a mess there that we'll probably have to clean up for the final version, because you can see the little spots there. So we would definitely have to clean that up. But in any case, we know that this is, if we go to the stamp, this is Cliff 3. So let's grab the, we don't actually have to do that. I did that for no reason. But we can grab the, get out of here. Cliffs again, 3. Let's bring this down to 50, and that should, in theory, get us pretty close to where we need to go. What you can see is right around there, maybe a little bit. Let's opacity dump. So because of the clipping mask, I think. Yeah, let's get rid of the clipping mask. You can see where it's starting to kind of show back up. So let's try and we'll scooch that over. Because again, we are trying our best to kind of size that up right. It still needs to be shifted a little bit that way, I think. It's getting pretty good. I think it still needs to be turned a little bit more that way. That's pretty darn close. I think we're getting a little bit of like a shadow, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not terrible. Let's we'll do that, and at the end of the day, this is going up into that other map anyway, so we're going to see it a little bit differently when we're done with it. Let's do the mask tool one more time, because we do know that we've got a little bit of a mess here that we have to clean up real quick. And let's get one more stinking little cliff here. And we're going to have this one kind of scooch into this area over here. So we are going to turn the clipping masks back on for this, and that should help us with a lot of, well, this one over here is fine. We're getting a little bit messy because of this other one up here that we had. So we got to turn the clipping mask back on for that one. Okay, and we'll figure out other ways to kind of clean that up and make it look a little bit nicer as well. But what we're going to do here is get back into the mask tool, because we want to try and get rid of that brown edge where we can. We're going to try and not have that mess that we had up here, which you can't really see too much there. But it's neither here nor there. Let's see. Nope, just a nice little cliff look. Over here you can see that there's a little bit of a mess too, so we're going to try and scooch that back. That was a false over there, but here we can definitely see it. A little bit there, a little bit there. And you could change the color of that that line to help you identify things. Clearly I have not in a lot of cases, but for here what we're doing, that's fine. All right, so next step. We've got everything right as far as the gap goes. What we need to do now is continue to build out our mountain here. So we're going to grab, we've got 2 little lines of cliffs here. And let's grab this here. Shrink. Yeah, so here is the problem with what I just did. This needs to drop down. everything around here also needs to drop down. Not that one, though. That one I'm going to lock in place for now because I don't really want to touch it, but you know what? I kind of lied. Right? Because that actually needs to come down further. So if I drop it down to 5, that's as low as it can go. Same thing over here. We kind of want this to drop down lower because this cliff has to drop down as well. So here we've got this one at -4. We're going to drop this one to -4 as well. This one drops to -4. That one was so high that it was above the grid. These ones too. Oop. Right, that's -4. So now everything is layered properly there. So when I grab this one, and this one will be at -3, it's still lower than the cliff beside it, but it's higher than the one below it. So let's keep things going. Let's grab a bigger one here. And we're going to keep things relatively close to what we have below it, because we do need to keep doing this kind of upward momentum in this area. Something doesn't look right. Maybe we didn't grab. Yep, that one is still too high. That needs to be at -4. So now when I throw that there, it'll be over top. Little pocket there kind of looks nice. However, the problem with that is we know that this kind of jutted out that way, so we would be kind of left with a mess. So let's keep things going. We'll grab another one of these. We'll fix that here. And that should clean things up a little nicer. Keep it going up. So this one here, this one is at it right now is at 3. We're going to drop that to -2 because again it'll still be higher than the things next to it. Okay, that one's kind of fun because that one kind of indents instead. I feel like we just did that one, so we're going to leave that one alone for now. And let's do a more traditional like that. Okay, on to the next one. So this one again is at 3. The way that I did the previous one, not the best style because I could have made some mistakes that would have been harder to fix. Let's do that one. I feel like that's too close to that one over there, so let's do this guy. I feel like it's 2 on the nose, so we'll shift that just a little bit. Let's keep going to now, obviously, one of the big problems that we're running into now is we're cutting back into that map, and we can't make any changes to that map. So what we're going to do instead of what we're doing now is grab things and we're going to adjust. So let's grab everything that we have there, and let's do, we're going to do this. Actually, Might even adjust a little bit further. And then we have to make a little bit more of a course correction. Not you. And because of that, we're going to lose some of these structures that we add and have to readjust, but that is a-okay. Okay, let's just touch this one again, and that way we have everything layered appropriately, so we can keep making decisions about what we need to do. All right, we've got 2 more layers, and then what we'll do is after that, we'll close up the show. So let's grab this guy here. This will help us kind of shape things the way that we need to. And flip it back the other way. Okay, and one more set. So up here, we can do this one here, which is a little bit the same. Same but different. And now you can see that we're on the highest layer. I'm not even going to bring it back from 3. And we'll just do that. All right, so we've got the shape of our largest peak here in the area. We do know that up here a little bit it does rise up again because we can see the cliffs that are coming up that way. But here, this is kind of like the big peak, which we've already had the structure for. We're just kind of building sort of like a mirror image of it over here. And the next step, which we'll do either tomorrow's stream or sometime in the future, we obviously have to paint this piece to look similar to what we have over here. So we'll be doing that. We'll be adding some plants and some foliage and stuff like that. And then crucially, we have to... Why do I keep on saying that? I feel like you just get hooked on like one word and just say it over and over again. The next thing that we have to do after we do the kind of painting that we're doing is we'll need to work on the waterfall. Now on this map up here, we'll I'll tell you what, we will move it down so you can see what it looks like, and then we'll shift it back up to save it. Up there, it's all a straight shot, and what we're going to do here when we're working on this map, in fact we can even kind of plan it out. We're going to go to our path tool. We'll use the dotted lines. We're going to break it down a little bit, and then we're going to start to have it kind of meander down this way. So we'll have something like that, and that's going to designate the cliffs that we're going to be using for this area. So we might have another bridge. We've got this bridge over here. It might be a little bit different. It might be kind of like what we have there, but on flat ground instead. So we'll have to see. We also have another bridge way up here, so I feel like there's a lot of artificial bridges, and we'll kind of close it up with maybe a natural bridge instead. And I don't even know if that's the way that we'll go about it. We might have like I don't know. We might not even have a bridge. We'll have to think about it. But let's save that, and while we're saving, we'll go to our show closing page. So, folks, on the screen right now, you should see all the places that you can find Tellest content out there on the internet. Tellest.com is a great first place to start because it usually brings you to all of our other projects. We have a couple of map-specific places that you'll want to check out. Patreon.com/Tellest is where you can find all of our maps at pretty much the lowest price that you're going to be able to see it, because we put together between 4 to 8 maps per month on the Patreon. Usually it's more than that even. And you'll be able to get the high-res, gridded and non-gridded versions of those maps, as well as variants, as well as custom stamps that you can use for your campaigns. Tellest.etsy.com. Hopefully sooner rather than later we get to hear something from our print partner, and we get to bring back the cloth maps that have become really popular at like conventions and fairs and stuff like that. We are pivoting to something else. I mentioned earlier that we're doing this mountain zone because we were able to pivot to map books, basically. and they got a lot of good attention at this last convention that we went to. We want to try and see if we can have more of those things available to people as well. But we'll see what we get to do with that kind of stuff. In the meantime, you should also check it out because we're going to have some very cool new one-of-a-kind handcrafted magic wands on there. Our drive-through RPG page you can get to by typing in battlemapfantasy.com. That will bring you to an a la carte version of our maps. We have something like 200 items on drive-through RPG, and through, I believe it's next Wednesday, we have an 80% off sale. So it's a really good opportunity for you to get a lot of maps really, really cheap, especially if you don't want to commit to kind of like the subscription model. There's a couple of TikTok channels that we have as well. At Tales of Tellest is going to bring you to our Poochies. At Weird Witch Wands is going to show you the kind of handcrafted goodies that Rihanna has been working on. And then we have 2 video channels that you gotta check out. YouTube.com/@WorldOfTellest is where you're going to be seeing all of our videos that have Tellest in mind. So you'll see Talking Tellest and these making map videos. You'll also see our Quantum Quest live videos. I keep saying it, we're going to bring them back. I'm just kind of getting into the swing of doing all these things again. I think that I've proven that I can do it, but we'll give it a couple more weeks before we really roll into it. I think we're going to bring it back in a big way with a wrestling themed episode that should be really fun. Always try and do things. Twitch.tv/ThatTellestGuy is the only place that you can check us out live and chat with us and earn quest coins and all that good stuff. It's also going to be, if we can get 5 more followers, that will be where we get to do some really cool stuff with Quantum Quest Live, which hopefully sooner rather than later you'll be able to see what that is as well. But that is going to wrap us up for today. We will be back tomorrow with one more episode of Making Maps, and I think on Thursday we're going to get back into Talking Tellest. Yesterday was just an idiot day for me, and I needed to be able to do something else. But that's going to wrap us up for today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for seeing this later on YouTube. We will catch you next time. But until then, I miss you.